How's it going, everybody? My name is Jesse O'Brien, and I do broadcast mixing at Red Rocks Church, as well as a lot of front of house stuff there. And then I work on a lot of their albums, both mixing and recording. So I've done some videos in the past, and I've gotten some really good feedback on it. So I decided that I'm going to be doing kind of a series of videos that focus just on each track that you might see in a broadcast or live environment. Okay, so I'm going to spend one episode per track. All right, so this episode is going to be about the Kick In mic or Kick In track, how I use it, what do I do, how it pertains to the mix, all that good, fun, yummy stuff. So with that said, hope you guys enjoy. Please like or subscribe or dislike, I guess. Whatever you got to do on whatever platform to show a little support would be sweet. Thank you. All right, let's dive in. So you can see here I have a full session. Drums, bass, synths, everything. Okay, we're just going to be focusing here up top on the Kick In mic. All right, so Kick In mic. Let's talk about what it is. If you already know, I'm sorry. This is a little rudimentary, but if you don't, it's good information. The Kick In mic is the mic that is inside the kick. It is close or closest to the beater of the drum. Okay, so where that beater hits the head or smacks the head, that mic is pretty close to that. So in turn, you're going to get the most smacky, high-endy, bright part of the kick drum with this mic. There is some low end in this mic, but for the most part, it's more of the slappiness or attack of the kick drum. Okay, so that's what we're going to kind of be accentuating out of this mic a bit. Now, before we go too far, the one thing you should always make sure, whenever you're recording a single source with two different microphones, you're always going to want to check phase, okay? The fact of the matter is these microphones are different distances away from where that beater is creating the sound or the waveform. So because of that, they're going to hit these mics at different times, which means you're going to have phase situations happening. So always check your phase. You can do this at the preamp, at your console. You can even do it afterward. You can record it and notice and like, oh yeah, the phase is out, and flip it or move it afterwards. So very, very, something very, very easily mitigated. Okay, so let's just zoom in a little bit on this and look at the phase. Okay, so the top track is my kick in mic. The bottom track is my kick out mic. Okay, so I can kind of see they're mostly in phase. Okay, so as this one rises and falls, this one's essentially following that. Now, they're not perfect, okay, which is natural. It's always going to be the case, but they're mostly in phase. If you wanted to get really nutty, I could take this and scooch it over so it's a little bit more in line or more in phase. All right, but in this situation, I'm just going to leave it because this is plenty in phase for me. Cool. Now, you can also kind of see the high end of the kick in mic, which is this one. Okay, all these fast little squigglies are all the high end content or high frequencies of this kick drum. So you can almost see the identity of this sound, all right? There's a lot of smack here alongside this low end bump. All right? This is what we like about the kick in mic. This high-end content. So let's dive in. What am I going to be doing to this? Well, I'm essentially going to be kind of shaping the top end or the click of the kick to the variety of click that are smack that I like, and then taking out kind of some problem areas. So let's dive right in. I'm going to first pull up an EQ. I'm just using the Pro Tools stock EQ. Great EQ for just general utility carving stuff out. All right, so let's hear it just with nothing, with no adjustments here. This is just raw right off the mic. Great. Okay, so Sounds like a kick in mic. Now, initially when I hear this, it sounds a little boxy to me. Okay, it almost sounds like you're hitting a side of a suitcase or a cardboard box. Okay, so I'm going to pull that out. That's going to kind of translate as muddiness in a mix. Okay, so that's going to be right around your 500, 400-ish area of your frequency. So I'm going to spike it so you can hear it. Yeah, kind of that area there. Okay, so I'm going to find it, pull it, clean it right up. Okay, easy as that. All right, I took the cardboard box out, made it a kick drum. Okay, so now the next step I'm going to do is shape the type of smack I want out of this. Okay, I like to think of this as there's kind of two options you have here, and anywhere in between. Okay, the first option is more of a raw rock kind of attack or smack. Okay, this is good for like kind of if you want like a raw. What's a good example? Kind of like Foo Fighters-y or kind of punk, early punk kind of vibe. Okay, it's a little more raw sounding. So that's going to be around your 1.5 to 2K area. Okay, and let me boost it so you hear it. Okay, kind of that aggression kind of makes you grit your teeth a little bit, curl your lip a little bit. Okay. Cool. Okay, so that's one area. If you want to kind of boost that, you get a little bit more of a raw tone. Okay, now the other option is, I think, a little bit more modern, and especially probably where you want to go and worship for sure. Okay, is the top, brighter, airier type of smack. Okay, so that's this guy, kind of from 5K and up. Okay, so here's without this EQ, kind of mid-rangey, boxy, and with it. Yeah, we'll call that good. Okay, so this is basically it on the EQ. I will go back and adjust the low end, but before I do that, I'm going to open up this kick out mic in the next episode, because this is going to give me primarily most of my low end for the kick drum. Okay, so I'm going to get my kick out mic rolling first before I address the low end here. Okay, because this does have low end to it, but this low end here I think is a little bit more priority, if you want to say it that way, and then this is secondary. So I don't know where this should go yet until I bring my kick out mic in. All right, so that's basically it for the EQ for now. Now the next thing you could do is add a gate. You can hear there's bleed in here. Okay. In this situation, I'm not going to add a gate. And here's why. I'm not a super big fan of gate. One of my biggest things I like to say is embrace the bleed. Okay. There will be bleed on a drum set. That's okay. It's not a problem. It can be a problem, but it doesn't have to be a problem. All right. So when I'm, when I'm getting tones on each individual mic on a drum, there's always bleed. But gates are really unnatural sounding to me. They're really choppy. I mean, you can adjust them and tweak them to be a little better, but they just sound a little too synthetic in the end when everything's kind of gated out. Okay. Some of that bleed, some of that, the sound that happens after the hits, in between the hits, that's like, there's magic in there, and gates kind of kill all that for me. Okay. So I'm not actually going to do a gate. I rarely do, especially on kick, because there's just not that much bleed content in there to be an issue for me. Okay. So I'm just going to embrace this bleed and move on. All right. So the next thing we want to do is a compressor. Okay. I'm going to pull up Impact here, which is a basically an SSL bus compressor model. It's been around a long time in the Pro Tools world. I really like it. It has a tendency to kind of suck some low end out of things where that might not be desirable in certain situations. But in this situation, I kind of like it, what it does, and I like how it sucks the low end out. One thing that it does is it tightens the low end of this kick in track. So initially it sounds like it's thinning it out, but when I treat the low end afterwards, it's just like a tighter, it kind of changes that low end to a little bit of a tighter low end, and it gives it really good like low mid presence without it being woofy or muddy. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. Now, a lot of people think, oh, well, I don't want to stifle the dynamic performance of the track, okay, by compressing it too much. Well, totally valid, okay? Here's my thing. This kick drum, the small little guy, the light one, okay, sounds different than this kick drum. It's not just a difference in volume, it's also tonally. They sound different. This one's going to smack a little harder. There's more brightness to it because it's smacked harder. Or this one's going to be a little rounder and not so aggressive sounding. So even when I compress it and make them relatively more the same volume, the tone is still different. Okay, the tone is still, kind of resembles that dynamic still. So it doesn't feel like the dynamics are sucked out. Okay, what this does though is this is, like I said, this kick in mic is what gives you the presence in the mix. When I add 50 more tracks on top of this kick drum, I'm going to need that presence so I can hear the kick drum. Otherwise, it's just kind of gets lost, and you're like, where's the kick drum? Okay. So by compressing the kick in mic, it keeps that kick drum nice and consistent through the mix, even with a bunch of tracks on top of it. Okay. So here's how I'm going to adjust it. My attack, I don't want to be too short or too fast. Because that'll kill the attack. It'll chomp out the attack of this, which I don't want. I want to maintain that attack. That's what gives me clarity. Okay, so I'm going to actually accentuate it. So I'm going to bring my attack to somewhere between 10 and 20 milliseconds. So it's allowing a good 10-ish, let's say 16 milliseconds through before it compresses, and then a very fast release so it gets out of the way. Okay, so I'm essentially designing the transient. I'm shaping this kick drum to be more attacky than it already is. Okay, and then I just adjust my threshold to taste. So I'm going to go extreme so you can hear it. Okay, here's without. Here's with. Okay, so you can hear it for sure sucked some low end out of it. Okay, it kind of made it paperier almost. All right, that's okay. I'm gonna be okay with that. Now I went extreme, so it's not gonna be that crazy. Let me get it to where I would normally do it, which is 4 to 5-ish dB of compression. Here's without. Here's with. Okay, so it pulls some of that low end out. However, when I go back and adjust that low end and bring maybe some of it out after I get this kick out mic, it's going to be a little bit tighter of a low end. I kind of like how it tightens that low end up a little bit. Okay, cool. All right, the next step is gain. How do I know where to set the volume of this track? Okay, this is the first track of the mix. I'm building my mix off of this track essentially. Where do I start my mix? Okay, this is where I'm looking at my master fader, this guy up here. How hard is it hitting my mix bus? Okay, basically I want to get it to where it's hitting a nice healthy level, but not clipping. So somewhere in the yellow, 3/4 of the way up, just like you would a normal individual track when you're getting level. Okay? And that ensures that I have enough headroom to add everything else, but I'm not too low where I'm not taking advantage of all my bits and headroom in there. So that's essentially all I do. So get it kind of 3/4 of the way up. The cool thing is when you start with drums on your mix, the kick and snare are usually what excite your mix the most, okay? So if anything's going to cause your mix to clip on your master fader, it's usually one of those two things, okay? So by starting with them, you kind of get a good sense of where your mix is going to live overall. And then by the time you're done adding everything back in, your mix is sitting in a really good spot, okay? Gain-wise. All right? Cool. And that's it. That's all I do to a kick-in mic. Okay? I EQ'd it, pulled out some boxiness, shaped my smackiness. Okay, in this case, I wanted a little bit cleaner, brighter, airier smack. And then I compressed it to make it a little bit more consistent in the mix. Okay? And that's it. And then I set gain to kind of set the good pace for gain staging for the rest of the mix. Cool. Hopefully that helped. We will continue next time on episode 2 for Kick Out Mic. All right. Like I said, I'll probably be kind of going back and forth, okay? Because big part of mixing is how do things influence each other. So it's not like I hit the kick, get it the way I want, and then never look at it again. I'm constantly going back. So as we move forward through these episodes, you'll constantly see me going, all right, I got the kick out mic going. All right, now let's get the kick in mic to help with that kick out mic a little bit. And that goes all the way down the chain from bass. I'll go back to the kick drum when I had bass. I'll go back to the guitars when I had vocals, all that kind of stuff. I'm constantly going back and forth, making room for everything. Okay? For now, this is where I start, usually with a kick in mic. Okay? Hopefully that helps. Thank you guys for watching. I could talk for days about this. It's already been 15 minutes. It was supposed to be like a 5-minute video, but that's not going to happen. So get ready, get some popcorn, take a seat in the couch somewhere, and here I am rambling some more. So love you guys. Again, I'm not a video editor. This is my first time, so sorry about the rough edits probably. And with that said, sorry video editors. Star Swipe out!